So, shock. You are most acquainted. All of you, I think, are acquainted with this term, right? Shock, right? So, it's a life-threatening medical condition, right? Of low blood perfusion to tissues, resulting in cellular injury and inadequate tissue function. So, mostly, shock is considered as a life-threatening medical condition, where the low blood perfusion to tissues concerned results in the cellular injury as well as there is inadequate tissue function. So it's a most common endpoint of many medical conditions. Like in many medical conditions, the terminal point or the end point comes is the shock. Generally, we call it as in coma, then in shock, death, right? So it's a common terminal medical condition. The most predominant or typical signs of shock are low BP, low blood pressure, right? Rapid heart rate, poor end organ perfusion. That means there is low urine output, confusion, consciousness is lost, so on. And the pulse becomes very low, weak pulse. Okay, pulse also becomes very low. So these are the very characteristic signs of the shock. Okay, low blood pressure, rapid heart rate, poor end organ perfusion, resulting in low urine output, confusion, loss of consciousness, and weak pulse, right? And the shock can be broadly divided into 4 types based on the underlying cause. Based on underlying cause, the shock can be classified into broadly 4 types. All of you could get the materials yesterday I had sent to your class representative. Okay. Both that biochemistry of digestive disorders and another is that yesterday ones, that is detoxification. Both the materials together I had sent to your class representative yesterday. I think all of you have got it, right? My voice is audible to all of you? Hello? Whether my voice is audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then, so broadly, the shock can be classified into 4 categories: hypovolemic shock, distributive shock, cardiogenic shock, and obstructive shock. Okay. Now, moving to the next slide. This slide shows the different mechanism action of shock, how the shock occurs. Okay. First of all, there is inadequate perfusion. Okay, which leads to cell hypoxia. Oxygen supply to cell becomes very less. Cell become hypoxic, resulting in energy deficit condition. And this leads to accumulation of lactic acid, and there is lowering of the pH. And this progress to anaerobic metabolism. Lactic acid accumulation and resulting in the lower pH will leads to anaerobic metabolism. Moving on, this will be followed by this accumulation of lactic acid will be followed by metabolic acidosis, leading to cell membrane dysfunction and failure of sodium pump, which will then follows the intracellular lysosomal release and digestive enzymes. The intracellular lysosomes promote the release of the digestive enzymes rather, leading to toxic substances entering into the circulation, which leads to capillary endothelium damage, followed by the destruction, dysfunction, and the cell death. Okay, so this is the different cascade of events that takes place during the shock. These are the cascade events taking place during the shock. Repeating inadequate perfusion resulting in the cell hypoxia, energy deficit, leading to the accumulation of lactic acid and fall in the pH, which results in the anaerobic metabolism, followed by metabolic acids, resulting in the vasoconstriction, failure of capillary sphincters, and peripheral pooling of the blood. The acidosis further leads to cell membrane dysfunction, failure of the sodium pump, okay, which may lead to internal lysosomes promote the release of the digestive enzymes. Then the toxic substances enter the circulation, leading to the capillary endothelium damage, and ultimately there is destruction, dysfunction, and the cell death. Okay. Destruction, dysfunction, and cell death. So these are the certain cascade of events that takes place during the shock. Then this initial phase, at the initial phase of the shock, I told the hypoperfusion causes the hypoxia. Due to the lack of oxygen, the cells perform lactic acid fermentation. Okay. And the oxygen, as you know, this is one of the terminal electron acceptor in the electron transport chain. That is not abundant, sufficient is not there. So this slows down the entry of pyruvate into the Krebs cycle. Okay. Or TCA cycle. Pyruvate now cannot enter into the TCA cycle. And this results in its accumulation. Pyruvate accumulates because it cannot enter into the TCA cycle. As you know, the pyruvate which is produced from the glycolysis combines with the oxaloacetate, forms the citrate. In this way, pyruvate enters into the TCA cycle or Krebs cycle. But since the pyruvate does not enter into the Krebs cycle, it will accumulation. It will accumulate. Sorry. So pyruvate accumulation, whatever pyruvate gets accumulated, that is converted to lactate by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. This is a reversible reaction. If you remember, lactate can be converted to pyruvate, pyruvate can be converted to lactate. This is a reversible reaction, okay, which is catalyzed by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. Now the accumulated pyruvate gets converted to lactate by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase, and thus lactate accumulates, causing the lactic acidosis. So lactic acid is there, which leads to lactic acidosis. Okay. So lactic acidosis will be there. Okay. Now, coming to the next phase of the shock, that is the compensatory phase. Okay. The compensatory phase is characterized by the different neural, hormonal, and biochemical mechanism to reverse the condition. Okay. So in this compensatory phase, different neural, hormonal, and biochemical mechanisms are involved to reverse the conditions. So as a result of this acidosis, the person will hyperventilate, okay, in order to get rid of the carbon dioxide. Because of acidosis, the person will begin to hyperventilate and get rid of the carbon dioxide. Okay. And the carbon dioxide then indirectly acts to acidify the blood. Okay, how? You know, carbon dioxide combines with water, forms carbonic acid, H2CO3. As you know, acid lowers the blood pH, right or not? The pH of the acid is low. So carbon dioxide once combines with water, it forms the carbonic acid, which then acidify the blood. Okay, acidify the blood, resulting in lowering the pH of the blood. Okay, so in this way, in this compensatory phase, the blood pH decreases because of the carbon dioxide. Okay, now the baroreceptors in the arteries. Baroreceptor means which maintain the pressure, which can bear the pressure. Okay, pressure sensor can say pressure sensors. So the baroreceptors in the arteries, they detect the hypertension, and they could be able to detect the hypertension and cause the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay. So the baroreceptors, which are responsible or which act as a pressure sensor in the arteries, they detect the hypertension and cause the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay. Epinephrine and norepinephrine. So the norepinephrine mostly is responsible for causing the vasoconstriction. Okay. So norepinephrine causes the vasoconstriction. And there is also increase in the heart rate. So the norepinephrine release results in the vasoconstriction. The blood vessels constrict. Okay. Blood vessel constrict. So there will be increase in the blood pressure. And there is also mild increase in the heart rate. Okay. So this is the function of the baroreceptors in the arteries. Then the epinephrine. The epinephrine, the other hormone, predominantly causes an increase in the heart rate. Okay. And with a small effect on the vascular tone. Ultimately, both the effect result in an increase in the blood pressure. But this epinephrine, the increase in heart rate and also responsible have a small vascular tone. Combinedly, both the effect result in an increase in the blood pressure. Okay. So this is the majority. This is the events that is occurring during the compensatory phase of the shock. This is the events that are occurring during the compensatory phase of the shock. Now we have discussed the initial phase, the compensatory phase. So the compensatory phase, the baroreceptors plays an important role. They detect the hypertension, okay, and cause the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Norepinephrine predominantly causes the vasoconstriction. Also, there is mild increase in the heart rate, not severe, mild. Further, the epinephrine predominantly causes an increase in the heart rate, okay, and also have a small effect on the vascular tone. Combinedly, both these effects result in the increase in the blood pressure. Okay, now this is all about the compensatory phase of the shock. Now, moving to the next phase. Okay, sorry, compensatory phase also another event occurs. The renin-angiotensin axis is activated. So there is renin-angiotensin aldosterone. Renin-angiotensin and aldosterone axis, RAS there. Okay. So this renin-angiotensin axis is activated and the vasopressin is released. Okay. The vasopressin, otherwise known as antidiuretic hormone or ADH, that is also released. The function of this is to conserve the fluid, okay, it helps in conserving the fluid via the kidneys. ADH, anti-diuretic. Okay. It reabsorbs the fluid, thus helping in conserving the fluid via kidneys. Okay. Further, the hormones also cause the vasoconstriction of the kidneys. Okay. Then also gastrointestinal tract and other organs. Divert the blood to the heart, lungs, and the brain. Okay. They divert the blood to the heart, lungs, and the brain. Okay. Then the lack of the blood to the renal system also causes the low urine output or low urine production. Okay. The lack of the blood to the renal system. Okay, that also leads to low urine production. So this is all about the compensatory phase. There is also low urine production. Okay, increase in the blood pressure that we have discussed just now. The blood pressure is increased, urine output is low. Okay, so these are the major events taking place during the compensatory phase of the SARC. Now, moving to the progressive stage. Progressive stage. So due to the decreased perfusion of the cells, low perfusion of the cells, the sodium ions, okay, they build up within the okay. Sodium ions tend to build up. Just 1 minute, my laptop charger is getting down. Sorry, my battery is getting down, laptop battery. I am putting the charger. Okay. Okay. So during this okay. So coming to the progressive stage, of the shock. So there is a decreased perfusion of the and lactic acidosis is there or metabolic acidosis is there. Then the smooth muscle of the arteries and sphincters, they relax, so the blood remains in the capillaries. Further, the hydrostatic pressure will increase and the histamine release will be there. This will lead to leakage of the fluid and protein into the surrounding tissues. Okay. Once the hydrostatic pressure will increase, the histamine release will be there, and this leads to leakage of the fluid and protein into the surrounding tissue. Okay. Now, as this fluid is lost, the blood concentration and viscosity increases, causing sludging of the microcirculation. Okay. So because of this prolonged constriction, vasoconstriction, the vital organs gets compromised due to reduced perfusion. Okay. So prolonged vasoconstriction leads to the vital organs compromised. Okay. Vital organs get compromised due to the reduced perfusions. Okay. Then the because of low oxygen supply to the bowel, they also became sufficiently ischemic. Bacteria may gain entry into the bloodstream, and this leads to a endotoxic shock complication. Okay, leads to endotoxic shock complication. Okay, so am I audible or not, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So, so this is the different phases or different events that is occurring during the progressive period of the shock or progressive phase of the shock. Now, coming to refractory stage. So the vital organs failure is there in this period. Then the brain damage, cell death occurs. Okay. And the reason for this is that the cellular ATP degrades into adenosine. Okay. In the absence of oxygen. Okay. And adenosine then perfuses out of the cellular membranes into the extracellular fluid. And there is capillary vasodilatation. Okay. Capillary vasodilation. And that leads to uric acid formation. Uric acid formation. Okay. So, because the cells can only produce adenosine at very 2% rate. Okay. So, again, to restore the oxygen, it will be a futile exercise at this point, at this juncture, because there is no adenosine to phosphorylate into ATP. Even though you restore oxygen, adenosine cannot phosphorylate into ATP. That will not be a useful work. It will be futile exercise. So this is the major point here is that cellular ATP is degraded into adenosine in the absence of oxygen. Okay, in the absence of oxygen as an electron acceptor in the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, that's why the adenosine perfuses out of the cellular membranes into the extracellular fluid. And there will be capillary vasodilatation. Now, oxidative stress. Coming to this oxidase phase. So whatever now we discuss, that is the different phases of the shock. So the shock. That is the initial stage, compensatory stage, progressive stage, and refractory stage. Now, coming to, they may ask some short notes type questions in the exam regarding this biochemistry of shock or biochemistry of oxidative stress. Okay. So oxidative stress. Many of you might be knowing regarding this or acquainted. Oxidative stress. Stress due to oxidation in our body. Stress due to different oxidation or because of different products that result from the oxidation inside our body. So this oxidative stress, they reflects an imbalance between the systemic manifestation of reactive oxygen species. The oxidative stress, the major cause of this is that the formation of reactive oxygen species like hydroxyl radical, hydrogen peroxide, superoxide. Okay, these are the reactive oxygen species which are generated in our body because of oxidation. And these are very harmful to our body. They are considered as the prominent carcinogenic agents responsible for causing cancer. So the reactive oxygen species that are generated in our body are very prominent carcinogenic agents, okay, and they are causing the cancer. So the oxidative stress means the imbalance between the systemic manifestation of these reactive oxygen species like superoxide ion, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxyl ion, and a biological system's ability to detoxify this reactive oxygen species. If there is imbalance, that means if the reactive oxygen species that are produced inside the body in higher amount and our body system is unable to readily detoxify this reactive oxygen species, then there will be imbalance which leads to stress to our body, and this is called oxidative stress because of the reactive oxygen species like hydrogen peroxide, superoxide, hydroxyl ion. All these are prominent reactive oxygen species, and these are considered as the predominant carcinogenic agent and responsible for causing cancer. These are responsible for causing cancer in our body. Okay. That's why always people prefer to consume as much as antioxidants. Why? To detoxify, to nullify the effect of this reactive oxygen species. People generally consume a lot of antioxidants. Okay? Because this reactive oxygen species are generated continuously in our body because these are the products of different biochemical reactions in our body. Okay, so you cannot stop it. There should be a provision to detoxify and nullify this effect of this reactive oxygen species. You cannot stop the production of this reactive oxygen species. Okay, so if there is an imbalance between this manifestation of the reactive oxygen species and our body's ability to detoxify, then this leads to stress in our body, which is called as oxidative stress. And if the body's ability is also decreases to repair this damage because of the reactive oxygen species, that also leads to a stress in our body, which is considered or which is known as or commonly called as oxidative stress. So there is disturbance in the normal redox state of the cells, okay, that can cause toxic effects. So the production of this, what I told now, peroxide, peroxyl radical, hydrogen peroxide, superoxide, hydroxyl radical. Okay. So these are also free radicals that damage all the components of the cells, including the important biomolecules of the cells, proteins, lipids, DNA. Okay. Okay. Because these free radicals or reactive oxygen species are highly harmful to our body. They damage the DNA, they damage the proteins, they damage the lipids. And what do you understand of free radicals? You know, because these are having certain unpaired electrons. Free radical means they're having certain unpaired electrons. So that's why they are highly reactive species. Highly reactive. Because of the presence of unpaired electrons, that's why they can able to combine with any of the molecules, biomolecules, proteins, lipid, DNA, and can damage them. So this oxidative stress also cause different base damage. Nitrogenous base in the DNA, RNA, that can be damaged by oxidative stress or because of this reactive oxygen species. Okay. As well as the strand, they are also responsible for the breaking the strands in the DNA. They can break the different strands in the DNA. Okay. DNA strand break also occurs because of this oxidative stress or because of this reactive oxygen species or free radicals. Now, this base damage is mostly caused by the reactive oxygen species like superoxide, hydroxyl, hydrogen peroxide. Base, you are understanding this nitrogenous base present in the DNA as well as in the RNA, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine. So all this base damage is caused by the highly reactive oxygen species or these free radicals. Now, Some reactive oxidant species also act as cellular messengers in the redox signaling. Okay. So the oxidative stress of this reaction species also cause interruption or disruption in the normal cellular signaling mechanisms. Okay. They disrupt or interrupt in the normal mechanism of the cellular signaling. So that's why this reaction species or oxidative stress has a serious consequence to our body or inside our body because of the highly reactive nature of this reactive oxygen species, okay, or these free radicals. So this is all about what I want to discuss for today's class. So from the next week, Dr. Hemendas may take your class. So this is all about from my side. Okay. Let me discuss with him. He may take your whatever the remaining portions he may take to complete your syllabus. Okay. Any notification is there when you will be your internal? Do you have any information? Hello. Anybody is having any information regarding your third internal examination, third internal assessment? Do you have any idea? No. Haka? Okay. Okay. Yesterday's material, did you send to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today's materials, today I will send you just now, and you just communicate to all the students. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.